Hello and welcome to the webinar on DevOps. We are glad that you joined us here today. I am Amal Mathai. I work as a senior technical consultant with Red Hat. I'm here to talk about a new way of thinking in the information technology world, which is DevOps, and also how Red Hat, with its products, training courses, and certifications, would help you accelerate your journey to DevOps. So, what is DevOps? This is a term which you get to hear very often today and is a combination of the terms developer and operations. Let's try to understand it a little better. We know that in a company which develops software, there are different teams which would work towards having it developed, built, tested, and finally get it delivered to their end customers. Well, if we were to name the teams which are involved in this process of software development, we have the developers who write the code, we have the testers who test the application, we have the operations team which is responsible for having the tested code pushed into production, also ensuring that it is available to their customers. In a traditional software development model, these teams, mainly the developers and the operations, they all work in silos. Developers would write code in their own environment, then throw it over to the testers to have the code tested, which then gets thrown again to the operations for being released out to production. We call this throwing over the wall. There is very less, or even at times none at all, collaboration among the teams, which are in fact working on the same objective of a feature-rich, bug-free, stable software for its end customer. DevOps, a combination of devs and ops, is an idea of bringing together these teams much closer. It's a new way of thinking. It is a new set of practices which will help in better communication and collaboration between the developers and the operations team. Well, not just the developers and the operations, but all the teams which are involved in the process of delivering the software. The practices in a conventional setup, due to lack of collaboration among the teams, resulted in a slow delivery. By adopting these new principles of DevOps, it would be possible to have software delivered much faster, with less errors, with less production issues. A piece of code sitting in a dev or a test environment is of no value until it gets to production. And today, when businesses are aiming at shorter time to market as a measure of its success, DevOps practices has its very own significance. Having understood DevOps, I think it is also necessary to understand what DevOps is not. It is not a clearly defined discrete end state. Rather, it's a philosophy about a set of processes which can bring together all the teams which are involved in the process of delivering software to its customers. It is not a product or a tool. Well, unlike what we get to hear at times, which makes us think that DevOps is a tool or a product. Of course, there are tools which are available which can help us get going the DevOps way, but just using them is not DevOps, though these tools play a very crucial role in helping us get there. So we don't buy DevOps, we do DevOps. It is not a single person's job. Well, we have just now talked about bringing together different teams and making them work together in sync with each other. So it exactly means that everybody who is involved in the process of software development has got a role to play in the process of DevOps. It is a cross-functional and a cross-departmental effort to have software delivered into production as fast as possible with as less failures as possible. It is not a binary condition too. So you just can't say that this project or this company is not DevOps versus the other project is 100% DevOps. It is rather a range on the delivery pipeline continuum. The delivery pipeline continuum, as you see here on the left-hand side of it, we see points which could be attributed to a conventional way of software development. monolithic applications, the environment being provisioned in a manual way, the testing of the software done using manual methods, promoting the software from one state of development to the other also manually. All of this would lead to a longer time from concept to delivery, or in other words, it will take longer than expected from having business requirements taking shape of an actual service or a product to the customer. When we look at the right-hand side of the delivery pipeline continuum, we get to see practices which need to be adopted in a DevOps way of software development. We have microservices-based applications, which essentially means that the application is inside a container, which can help in faster delivery of code into any environment. We talk a lot about automation in DevOps, which is brought in to the process of software development to speed things up, but yet with less errors. We need to have automation in place for provisioning the different environments in which the software is built. Rather than testing the software in a manual way, we should be thinking of bringing in some tools like Jenkins for automated testing and building of the software. The software being promoted from one stage of development into the next also should be considered to be automated. So when we bring in practices like containerization, automation, etc., the ultimate benefit we get is that the software from its concept to delivery will happen in a much faster way. No software development team or organization is at one end or the other. And it is not always necessary for a company to be at the rightmost side. But the idea is to have practices being adopted and followed to help you move towards the right. Over to the three basic principles to make DevOps possible. One, common platform. We know that a software in the process of it being developed has to go through many stages. It will get coded, say in a developer laptop. After the developer checks in the code to the code repository, it might get tested on a workstation. The actual testing environment might be running on virtual machines where it is approved to go to production, which could be on the cloud. In most of the cases, software being delivered into production encounters a lot of unexpected failures because the platform on which the software has been tested or has been developed in a much earlier phase was not identical to the platform to which ultimately this is to run, which is the production. To have software delivered fast, we definitely cannot afford to have failures while it is being released. Solution? Common platform, which has identical software libraries and other dependent softwares across the stages through which the software is promoted to until production. 2. Continuous integration. Rather than having manual steps in testing the software, we are adopting more and more automation in this space. Of course, automated testing will help save a lot of time, and the saved time could be used to have more test cases written, and that way we also get to have a better code coverage. Number 3, continuous delivery. Since the idea is to have automation to speed up the entire process in whichever way possible we can, we should even think about automated deployment of the code to production. So as soon as the code gets committed into a Git repository, let's say, it is being tested by an automated testing tool like Jenkins, and on passing the tests, the idea is to have the code automatically released into production. A little more about the common platform. The idea is to get rid of the infamous works for me problem. We just spoke about release failures due to lack of a common platform. So we end up ultimately in having a buggy software exposed to our customers, which can result in a very severe incident, operations team working for rolling it back, and we have a service downtime, and a lot of other problems would follow. If an operations engineer were to ask to a release engineer or a tester about the good-to-go release failing in production, she would say, well, it worked for me. If you wanted to have this works for me problem avoided, the solution is to have a common identical infrastructure throughout the phases of software development. This will ensure that the software is given a go-ahead to be released after having been tested on the same platform which is expected to be awaiting the software to be run on in production. The common platform will also ensure that it is easy to automate provisioning of these environments as well. In the world of DevOps, we have a practice of managing infrastructure as code, wherein we manage the infrastructure just like a piece of software code, that is, in the form of a file, and we maintain those files under a version control. If we need to make a change to a configuration parameter in the environment, it is just a matter of making that change on the code and applying it, which will ensure that the same change is reflected across the environments. When it comes to technologies which are available to help us on this front, we have a lot of choices. For example, if you wanted to have your application running in containers, we have a choice of using Red Hat Enterprise Linux Atomic Host, which is a fine-tuned operating system which can host your containers. Or even as a larger scale of deployment of containers, think of using OpenShift Enterprise, which helps you run your containers, manage your containers, and even orchestrate your containers. Red Hat Ansible Tower is a solution which can help you automate your infrastructure, manage your application releases, manage your configuration files, or even orchestration of your otherwise very complex tasks. If the requirement is to have a virtualized setup being managed, Red Hat Enterprise Linux Virtualization or Red Hat OpenStack could be a solution. If you have to manage a large number of systems in your data center which has to be kept up to date with their subscriptions managed, Red Hat Satellite could be a choice, which also includes Puppet as a component to it, which will take care of the configuration file management. A standalone Puppet server could also be a solution, and the choices are many. Having mentioned about managing infrastructure as code, it would be worthwhile talking a bit about Ansible. It is a simple IT automation tool that can be used to describe your entire IT infrastructure in the form of a file, which is written in plain and simple YAML format, which we call playbook. The Ansible's automation engine can read the tasks from the playbooks and run them to have your infrastructure configured as you desire. Want to make changes to the infrastructure? Go ahead and make the change in the playbook, and Ansible would run it and ensure the change is reflected across the environment. Ansible Tower is an enterprise-class tool which enhances the core Ansible with a dashboard, a friendly and beautiful user interface, a RESTful API library, etc. About the features of Ansible. Well, just like the definition went, it is simple. Yes, you heard it right. It would be one among the most easiest tools. The learning curve is not steep at all, and it requires no specific coding experience or even any programming language knowledge to write a playbook, which is the core part of maintaining infrastructure as code. The playbooks are written in plain YAML format, which is easy to read, easy to write. The tasks which you write in a playbook are executed in the same sequence as you wrote, quite unlike few other tools available in this space. Since picking this tool up is easy, you get to start using it rather quickly. It is powerful. It is not just a configuration management tool, as we generally tend to call it. In addition to configuration management, which the tool can help in, deployment of your multi-tiered stack of applications. It can also help in running workflows. It can help in orchestrating your complex tasks. Yet another feature, which I think is the most prominent one, and which is the USP of Ansible. If you think of implementing an automation tool in your data center, it involves installation of additional agent software in the host to manage, running services in them, opening the network ports, modifying firewall rules, etc., which, as you know, is not very easy. Rather than having to go through these hassles just for the sake of having an automation tool in place, wish we had something which is agentless? Ansible is the answer to that. Ansible has got an agentless architecture. It uses SSH, which is a most commonly used and secure remote execution mechanisms for managing Linux or Unix servers, and it uses WinRM to manage Windows boxes through PowerShell. Ansible is the language of DevOps. Going back to the discussion of DevOps, it included a mention about communication, which is the key. If you look at the usage of Ansible, the playbooks are read and or written by all the teams in the process of software delivery, right from the developers on one end to the operations or even the management teams on the other. About Ansible Tower. At the core, Tower has the open source Ansible automation engine. To have problems at an enterprise level solved, in addition to being simple, powerful, and agentless, Ansible Tower gives you some additional features. It gives you more control. Well, we know that we would have requirements of running a job repeatedly at a specific frequency by scheduling it. Tower lets you do that. It offers you a UI, a dashboard. It also helps in having a role-based access control where different teams or individuals could be granted required privileges to run the tasks corresponding to their roles. DevOps and Red Hat certifications. Certified by Red Hat on Red Hat. The values of Red Hat certification. For an IT professional, being certified, IT professionals differentiate themselves from rest in the industry, as they chose to validate their own competency with a globally accepted and recognized certification program. In this fast-changing world of technology, being certified demonstrates the readiness for new responsibilities, which can have a positive impact on professional salaries too. A Red Hat certified professional's unique certification ID makes it easy for a recruiter to determine online whether someone has the certification they claim to have, and the release of the technology on which it was earned too. For an IT manager, recruiting requires finding highly specialized skills, like finding someone who knows how to manage Linux containers or finding a professional who can lead their Ansible implementation. Red Hat certifications help organizations help identify, develop, and retain professionals. Red Hat certifications aren't about memorization and answering test questions. Every Red Hat certification requires passing one or more hands-on 2 to 4 hour long practical exams on Red Hat technologies. Hands-on testing means you can be certain that Red Hat certified professionals have done a real-world test needed on the job. Recruiting is not just the only challenge. When specialized skills are required and in short supply, how do you develop people who are already on your team or make sure the teams are ready for changes when they come? Red Hat certified professionals is a solution to that. Recruiting is not just the only challenge. When specialized skills are required and are in short supply, how do you develop people who are already on your team or make sure that teams are ready for changes when they come? Red Hat certifications can help. Red Hat training courses on DevOps curriculum. We have a few courses to offer which can help a participant upskill in DevOps tools. Ansible Essentials, which is a technical overview in a video classroom format, can help you get introduced to Ansible. Deploying containerized application, yet another tech overview in a video classroom format, which can help you introduce to the concept of containerizing applications. DO180 is an introduction to containers, Kubernetes, and Red Hat OpenShift. we have a DO280, which is Red Hat OpenShift administration, where you will learn about administration of Red Hat OpenShift platform. OpenShift Enterprise Development DO290, which will help a candidate gain skills in developing a software using agile methods on OpenShift platform. Configuration Management with Puppet DO405, which will help a candidate skill themselves on usage of Puppet. Automation with Ansible Part 1 DO407, which will help a candidate in knowing using Ansible, where he learns how to write playbooks and use them to automate tasks in the data center. Automation with Ansible 2, which is a course on Ansible Tower DO409, where you get to know more about administration of Ansible Tower and also the features of Ansible Tower. Red Hat Certified Architect on DevOps. RHCA, Red Hat Certified Architect, is the highest level of certification, and there are concentrations which can be chosen by a participant to focus on. A Red Hat Certified Architect with a DevOps concentration consists of 5 certification programs. To be a Red Hat Certified Architect, you have to earn a Red Hat Certified Engineer, RHCE, or a Red Hat Certified JBoss Developer, plus the following certification exams. The first one being Red Hat Certificate of Expertise in Platform as a Service, where a participant is tested for his skills on OpenShift Enterprise. Second, Red Hat Certificate of Expertise in Containerized Application Development, where implementing new container images by extending the existing ones, managing images, including pulling and pushing images from a private registry, manually run and link the containers in a development environment are a few things being tested. Red Hat Certificate of Expertise in Configuration Management, where a candidate is tested for his skills on installing and configuring Puppet, create and maintain Puppet manifests, creating Puppet modules, work with Git repositories, and implementing Puppet in a Red Hat Satellite environment. The next one being Red Hat Certificate of Expertise in Atomic Host Container Administration, where a candidate is tested on her capabilities of creating and managing Docker container images, publish custom container images to a private repository, deploy multi-tiered applications using containers, Dockerize an existing application, etc. Red Hat Certificate of Expertise in Ansible Automation is yet another certification where a candidate is tested for her skills on writing playbooks and implementing them on Ansible Tower. Appreciate you joining in with us for this webinar. Hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you.